Oh. Oh. Hariom and greetings from Seattle. When I was 24 years old, I had started living in an ashram. And for 25 months straight, I invested in getting to know myself, in getting to understand the difference between being alone and being lonely. When I was 26, I started to try to share what I learned about myself. And I've been doing this now for more than 16 years full time. In my teachings through my travels, I've observed that society is struggling with two challenges. The surface challenge that society is struggling with is isolation. This was accentuated by the fact everyone was working from home, studying from home, and so on. But the deeper root of why people feel isolated is insecurity. People are not finding joy within themselves. Now, what to do about this? In the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna shares, specifically in chapter 4, what the essence, what the vision of a parampara is. It is someone who is secure. We would refer to them as a sadguru, who helps one who wants to be secure feel that. We would call them a shishya. Shri Krishna shares, I am the source of this lineage of those who are secure, helping those who are insecure, and thereby transforming society. Now, for many of us, Shri Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, these are abstract, divinity, a map. I have personally experienced this parampara or this lineage by living with my master for more than 2 years, studying from him, watching him. And to me, he's an icon of security, and only a secure person can help another person be secure. Only an experienced person can help another feel that same experience. With all of this background or context, that first year where the world experienced COVID, when everything shut down, our community pivoted, we adapted. And so in 2021, we initiated our mentorship sangha, where one who is more experienced tries to help one who is less experienced feel less isolated so that they feel less insecure. We flowed through this in 21, in 22, and 23. We've completed 3 years together. And now in 24, we're initiating our mentorship sangha, and it's in the best position it's ever been. And naturally, the reason for that is that all of you are here. But just like a concert goer would hear an artist say, this is the best city I've ever played in, and then they say that in the next city also. So I am saying that in a sincere way, but also because our team is the most dynamic and disciplined that they've ever been. And we have great facilitators in this workshop. We have rounded up international facilitators for this particular workshop. And I don't want to take more of their time up. And so our team is going to introduce themselves and our speakers so that we all get to know the vision of our mentorship sangha more, both for mentors, for mentees. My appreciation for this opportunity that divinity has provided all of us, and all who are receptive towards this in terms of our team, in terms of our mentors and mentees. Once again, welcome to our 2024 Mentorship Sangha. How are you?
Hariom, everyone. Hariom, all the mentees. Hariom, Vivekji. Hariom to our speakers. Incredibly excited to kick off Mentorship Sangha 2024. We have two awesome speakers who I know very personally. They're both from the UK. So starting with Milan, he is a managing partner of On Markets, which is an impact-first venture studio focused on emerging markets. His whole family are very rooted in Chinmay Mission. He himself has been an active Sevak for over 25 years, serving in the UK Centre and helping Swami Swarupanandaji scale his Make It Happen program globally. Our second speaker is Jessica. Jessica is a graduate of the University of Oxford, and she now leads diversity, equity, and inclusion at the BBC. She was introduced to Chinmay Mission almost 20 years ago and has since served in a variety of roles, currently as the trustee and secretary of Chinmay Mission UK. We are in very good hands in this workshop, and without further ado, I will turn to our speakers, starting with Milan. Hariom.
Hariom. Thank you very much for that introduction. Vivekji, thank you so much for the invitation to speak, and thank you all for giving me a few minutes to share a few thoughts with you. I have a few slides, 2 slides. So I will just share my screen. Okay. So Prem mentioned that I have the real good fortune and privilege of being able to support Swami Swarupananda in the plans to grow and scale Make It Happen. Make It Happen is a program that some of you may be familiar with. And maybe at the end I can talk a little bit more about it. But within the Make It Happen course, there's 18 chapters in total. And chapter 15 actually covers Swamiji's thoughts on what constitutes a mentor. And so I thought I'd read them out. And so in that, Swamiji says, a means to quell the rising storms of fear that can arise when we face challenges in life is to confide and seek advice in a living mentor. And Swamiji says that a mentor should have 3 qualities. Number 1, have our best interest at heart. Number 2, be more wise or mature than ourselves. And 3, that mentor themselves should live a noble and righteous life. A mentor is someone who will accept us no matter how inadequate we feel. They should be able to infuse us with confidence and correct us when we falter. And right now, we may think that there is no one in our lives that falls into that category. However, when we look around, we may find a suitable mentor in loving parents or family members, teachers, or friends. So I wanted to share, I'll speak for about 10 minutes or so about my mentor. And the way I'll do that is just to walk you through a few stages and chapters in my life and how a mentor who embodied those qualities really transformed and changed the trajectory of my life. So going back, I'm 43 now. So going back to 2002, when I was in my 20s, I was a chartered accountant because my dad told me I had to be one. And I was a Vedanta student because my mum told me I had to. And I was, as I'm sure many of you are, so inspired by and got so much value from engaging with the mission when I was in my early 20s. And when I was in my mid-20s, I remember even meeting Vivekji when he was in Mumbai at the Sandipani. And I was reflecting, actually, wouldn't it be amazing if I could kind of invent a job where I could share Vedanta, but also, earn money doing that, make a living, and I unlike others, like Vivekji, I had lots and lots of desires and wanted to earn lots and lots of money and was thinking about how I could do that. And so in 2012, 10 years later, I had the idea for what became called the Intrapreneur Lab, which was a corporate social innovation accelerator. In effect, we go to large corporates and find people who worked inside them, who were kind of mid-20s, early 30s, who wanted to do something which was impactful, wanted to do work which was more entrepreneurial, but didn't want to leave their day jobs inside their large corporate. And so what we designed was a 3-month program where if they could come up with an idea for a new product or service for their company, which could make money for their company, but create wider social good, then we would help you develop that out. Now, the Vedanta in that was, for me, I felt that give people the experience of what it is to work in a spirit of Karma Yoga, work for a higher goal, where the immediate benefit to yourself is not so tangible, and experience for yourself the transformation that takes place when you do that. And when you do that, capacities and faculties within you will awaken, and you'll be able to achieve things that you never thought were possible. And the Entrepreneur Lab became very successful. We had about 20 of the large Fortune 100 companies use the Entrepreneur Lab between 2012 and 2015, like Barclays and Disney, for example. Then in 2015, the Entrepreneur Lab kind of naturally morphed into my company, Till Ventures, where we became a venture builder. I took on a partner. He was a professor at Cornell University. We had a team of 12, and we had clients like Barclays, Pearson, BMW, Mars, and about 4 others, where we would work with them in partnership to build out new social impact lines of business. So Mars, for example, how can we create a new line of foods which bring nutrition out to rural mass markets in India? Or Pearson, how can we bring education solutions out? So the work really evolved. And then in 2020, of course, COVID came. Oh, and by that time I had a team of 12. And then 2020, COVID came and we had to downsize. We had a team of 4. A lot of the big clients we lost because, India was closed, so we lost Mars, and BMW, all the factories were shut, so we lost them. But we had Barclays and we had Shell as a client. Then in 2022, everything collapsed. Barclays messed me around. It wasn't really their fault. There was a leadership change. They said at the beginning, around May 2022, prepare for about $1 million worth of revenue this year. So I had staff lined up. Then 3 months later, they said, oh, there's a leadership change. We're not sure. Actually, it'll be $2 million worth of revenue. And then in October, November, they actually said, we're going to shut down the whole program that's been running for 10 years. Of course, I had expenses going out the door of the company and no billings coming through. Fortunately, Shell came in. They said, look, here's a significant piece of work, enough to kind of keep you going. But by that point, my partner, who I'd been with for several years, and my team, they just wanted to take the company in a very different direction, to the direction that I wanted to take it in. And so in late 2022, that's what they decided to do. I won that contract from Shell. But the team and my partner, it's a small team of partners, said, look, we're going to leave, we're going to set up our own company. So I was left alone. This is now November 2022. I felt very alone. I felt quite rejected. I felt very small. And then your mind plays games with you. I fell into quite a deep depression, and my mind started creating this new narrative. Your success was just a fluke. That you weren't really sort of sharing Vedanta with others and transforming them. There really is no meaning to anything. There's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says your mind can be your greatest friend and can also be your greatest enemy. And at this point, I really feel that my mind turned on me. I felt like I was in a deep, dark black hole. And so that's the narrative that I spoke about. And that's what I told my friends. And that's what I told my wife. And my wife said, well, I never really worried about you being successful. I just assumed, you were just doing so well. But look at you now. You almost feel that you can't even do basic tasks. And so she started to lose faith in me. And then my parents, my dad, was very proud. He was like, look, he's got all these big clients and he's got this company. But then, I was saying to him, oh, you know what? Actually, it was all a fluke. It was all really my partner. And then he started doubting me as well. I was saying, oh, well, I guess maybe it was all too good to be true. Milan, just go get a safe job now. And then friends who I spoke to, when they had that little tinge of envy, that little, you go to them for advice, you're feeling desperate, and they're like, well, Milan, you got a little bit carried away with all the money, and, you kind of really lost your purpose and lost your way. And so me and everyone came to the conclusion, I have to shut the company down. And then Swami Swarupananda came to London. And Swamiji said, no, you're not closing the company. There's the opportunity to get that additional piece of work from Shell. You go get that. And if needs be, deliver that work by yourself. And so I did. I got that piece of work from Shell. The team all left. It was November 2022. And I thought that I'd hit rock bottom, but I fell even deeper. And I said, I just can't do this, Swamiji. I just can't. I have to close this company down. And so I did. And in January 2023, I went to make it happen. I'd been several times before. And I was, had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And Swamiji gave me 3 very clear instructions. Go back to Shell and Barclays. Create a new company. Do it completely by yourself. Go back to Shell and Barclays. See if you can win some more work with them. If that work that you turned down, you lost, that you won, but then you shut the company down, see if you can do that. Number 2, have nothing more to do with your old team. Build a new team, but never become dependent upon anyone. You felt that you couldn't do this without your partner and without others. You can go make it happen. And so I came back to London in January 2023. I reached out to Shell. In fact, I didn't even reach out to them. When I landed from India back in London, my phone regained signal and there was a WhatsApp from the person at Shell saying, can we please speak? To cut a long story short, that piece of work that Shell gave me was a few $100,000, then became $1 million. And now we are 14, 15 months down the line. Looks like by the end of this year, fingers crossed, there'll be about, I think, an investment pot of 10 million, a brand new company, a new team, a real evolution of what kind of came before. Now, and so what could be achieved now in 1 year is something that I couldn't achieve in the last 10 years. Now, I share all of this to say that having a mentor in your life is the most wonderful opportunity. Friends can give you advice, but their advice will always be colored from their perspective. Your family members will love you dearly and will want to help you, but again, they're colored by their relationship and their attachment to you. Having a mentor who is objective, who embodies those qualities that Swamiji laid out in Make It Happen, is such a gift. And so, I would encourage you all to accept that gift with real gratitude and make the most of this mentorship program that Vivekji and the mission is providing for you. I'll pass over to Jessica now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Milan. I'll say that Milan and I have known each other for, I think it's almost 20 years now, and I feel like we've had the privilege of serving together as chicks originally, and it's so wonderful to hear that's your story and your journey, Milan, and obviously you we've been talking about it sort of especially over the last couple of years, but to hear it like that and to hear Swamiji's words certainly has filled me with inspiration as well. So thank you, Prem and Pranams Vivekji. Thank you. It's a privilege to be part of this amazing initiative. I think Milan has so eloquently explained to us who is a good mentor, who is a true mentor. I think I just want to spend the next few minutes talking about the kind of practical tips really that I've reflected on around making that mentor-mentee relationship a success as you embark upon this relationship. I believe it's a commitment of at least a year that you all are making, and I think this group are the mentees that we're speaking to today. I think it's really important to remember that it's a partnership that we're going into and that you'll get out what you put in. And it's a real investment And I highly recommend, and this is only from my own personal experience, I highly recommend that before the sessions, especially your first meeting, to do some honest reflection around clarifying your goals, what you want to get from the relationship, what themes you want to touch on through the mentor-mentee relationship. And I think one of the biggest things I'll say, especially in this forum and this capacity, is to bring your whole self to the relationship, including your higher purpose. Because I think in different capacities, I've seen and been part of mentoring relationships, both as a mentor and as a mentee, and specifically around career development. And even at the moment, I have a brilliant mentor who has been sort of coaching me for a few years in the work environment, specifically around career progression and goals. And that's been a really fruitful relationship. But I also have a mentor who from, I won't name names here, but specifically within the Chinmay Mission UK family. And I will go to that mentor for advice, whether it's on my spiritual growth, and especially if I feel I'm faltering, but even actually when it's been sort of material growth, especially with career, family, and I think what the real benefit of being in this mentorship sangha is that actually you don't have to compartmentalize, and actually that integrated personality is where we see our true success come out. So if we're integrated in what we think, what we do, thought, action, deed, that's when that true success comes out. And so when you're having those conversations as a mentee, don't try and go, okay, like this is just my professional self, but actually really reflect on what is my purpose, what is my higher purpose, and how does, if it is a career themed goal that you have, then actually align that career goal to your higher purpose, because I think that's where you'll really see the fruits there. And that's from personal experience. And here's a nice quote from Guruji: the motivation of a leader is to achieve a higher objective. And that's something that really resonates with me. And I find that that's my kind of almost like my compass point, like where, my North Star. So whenever things feel like it's getting too busy with work, or you feel like actually getting lost in the task, actually to keep coming back to this North Star of, okay, what is my higher objective? What is my purpose? It's very, very much in line with everything that Milan's talked about in terms of make it happen as well, to keep coming back to that. And don't be afraid to talk about that in this relationship of this mentorship sangha, because maybe in other capacities we feel we have to mask a little bit, or feel like you can't talk about your goal of moksha or karma yoga, but actually in this forum you absolutely should, not only can but should as well. So I just feel that I cannot overemphasize the importance of not compartmentalizing, and to see the whole, not the parts of one's life, whether it's relationship, career, but to see one's purpose through all of that. And when we align our goals to our purpose, I think that's when we see that success really come about. The next point is around active listening. What does that mean? And I think especially in these days, and I don't know if you'll be having your mentor-mentee meetings in person or on Zoom, but it's so easy. We always have our phone on the side, whether it's kind of, even in Zoom meetings, people are checking their phones, people are using the chat function. But I think it's just making that commitment that when you're having the sessions with your mentor, to be fully present. And yes, I know that sometimes we talk about the mentor being an active listener, and to kind of, empty out all of their thoughts and distractions, and to be really present and to really listen to what the mentee is saying. But I think it applies the other way as well. So to be really present, to actively listen. And actually this is so consistent with our own learnings in Vedanta as well. For those of you that have been studying Vedanta, when we talk about Shravanam, that is exactly what the teacher is describing there. That Shravanam of being an empty vessel, ready, sitting at the feet of the teacher, to take in, to hang off every word of the teacher, no distractions, no narrative, no commentary going on in our minds. And actually, when we listen actively, we benefit the most from that relationship as well. So there's a lot of material out there in the corporate space around active listening, and I definitely urge you to bring that to the table for this relationship. And then just quite simple points really here about treating each meeting as a commitment. So I think being part of this Sangha in itself is a commitment that you're all making today. But it's very tempting, life gets busy, to try and postpone or to move things around, but actually to go into it with the attitude that this is a commitment that I'm making, and actually I'm the one who's going to benefit from this. So to really, where possible, to try and avoid having to reschedule. And sometimes even rescheduling, and this is again speaking from my own experience, sometimes it's because of it might not be a diary clash, it might be certain fears, certain limitations in our own minds that may be causing us to go, oh, actually, I don't have much to say this time, I haven't got any results to show, I'll just move this meeting. But actually to really, really bring yourself to the table each time and to honor that commitment, because ultimately we will benefit. And the last point is just to be really positive about it, which I think everybody in this group no doubt will be anyway. But you know, your mentor, especially in this capacity, may not always have the answers, but even to have somebody who can reflect back to you as well, has your best interests in mind, and even that is such an asset and such a beautiful thing to have access to. So take that positive approach and enjoy the process. And I think that, you know, when Prem first told me about this initiative, I just thought, you know, what an amazing thing to have access to. And you know, I hope you guys will thoroughly enjoy and get a lot of success and growth from this process. So that's it from me. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much to Jessica and to Milan. Awesome sharings. Appreciate Milan opening your heart and sharing your journey, and appreciate Jessica some very practical tips. A lot of folks are pinging me saying, how did you know all the issues I'm going through in Mentorship Sangha? So you addressed them really well. I will share my screen and go through just a few slides that share some of the nuts and bolts of this program. So let me share my screen. Okay, are folks able to see my full screen? No. Okay, let me try again. How about now? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so welcome again to Mentorship Sangha 2024. Currently, we have around 90 folks who are registered, about 70 who are matched in pairs, and around infinite excitement for what this year could bring to us. I had to learn how to type infinity on a keyboard. Apparently it's Alt-5. Do spread the word. We've done all our priority matches, but we will continue to match folks on a rolling basis. And so if you have anyone who you think will benefit from this program, as we heard, having a mentor is an incredibly valuable opportunity. Do spread the word and share this with other folks, and we will try our best to match them. And welcome to all of the pods. So we've expanded our pods this year. We now have 9 separate pods. So we have Pod Delight, led by Deepal, Pod Joy, led by Janani, Laugh by Lavanya, Smile by Sheetal, Mindful by Mukul, Noble by Neha, Happy by Shruti, Truth by Theas, and Rejoice by myself. So if you're unfamiliar, what a pod is it's a group of mentor and mentees. So each pod has roughly 3 or 4 mentor-mentee pairs at this moment, and it will expand over the course of the year. But it's really to serve as like a small support network within this larger program. If you're having any challenges whatsoever, you can escalate it to your pod leader. And we'll also try and have some kind of social events as a pod too, to really foster that community. So we've already shared a lot about what a mentor is. I will just say this at a really high level, just to emphasize kind of how we define it. So a mentor in our program is really an advisor, a friend, a supporter, a big brother or a big sister. It's not supposed to be a therapist or a counselor. Another thing a mentor is, it's a seeker, right? It's someone else who is studying Vedanta alongside us in a lot of classes. They are not going to be a Sadguru. They will not have quick answers to questions in the way that Vivek G does for us. So do be patient with them as well and understand that they are still on the learning journey too. A mentor should be available in a reasonable capacity. We advise everyone to meet sort of twice a month, but they won't be available kind of 24/7 on standby for all issues that arise. So do respect boundaries as well. And then finally, a mentor should bring a really empathetic, compassionate, and organized attitude, and not sort of the opposite of all of those things. One thing I'd like to emphasize is this point at the top, which is that mentors are not supposed to be therapists or counselors. If you are facing any challenges that you think should be escalated beyond a mentor, we have a professional advisor on board. So we have Rachnaji, who is a trained pediatrician. So if there are any more serious issues that you feel you want to escalate, then contact your pod leader or contact her directly, and we can get that sorted for you. Okay, a few best practices from the years of how to make the most of being a mentee. So the first thing is to communicate really honestly. We deliberately make sure that mentors are of an age bracket that is not too distant to yours. And so they have a similar sort of world, have similar experiences which they've kind of gone through more recently. And hopefully this gives you an opportunity to speak really openly about some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that you're facing right now. Everything is kept confidential. They're not reporting it to your parents or anything. The only exception to that is if there are any kind of medical emergencies, which I noted on the last page. The second thing is be open to feedback. A really good mentor is someone who pushes you, who challenges you, who points out things areas where you can grow. And so just keep in mind that they do have your best interests at heart. The third thing is do maintain consistency. It might be tempting to drop off as things get busy, but really in those periods of busyness, I feel a mentor-mentee partnership is even more important to kind of make sense of things. The fourth thing is really taking responsibility. As Jessica mentioned, what you put in is what you get out of it. And so take ownership over the experience that you have. And then finally, do respect and appreciate your mentor's time and efforts. They are obviously not paid for this. They are just dedicated to your self-development. They see this as their seva. And so be grateful for whatever they can provide. The final thing is then kind of Sangha guidelines. And really there's only 4. So the first is talking to your mentee at least twice a month. If your mentee is not scheduled the chat, then please do go ahead and schedule it yourself. It should really be on both of you guys to get those scheduled. The second thing then is we have our wellness workshops once a month on a Sunday. They are usually not at this time. This was an exception. They're usually at 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe. And so do put that in your calendar, and you would have seen the email come out this morning, which you can save as a bookmark. We are no longer using Luma, so we won't get all those reminders. Whenever there's a time for a workshop, do refer back to that email and use the code that's provided. The third thing is we have awesome Monday musings that come out. So these are reflection prompts that are sent sort of twice a month. And these will be mostly on WhatsApp rather than email as it was last year. So that's a really cool opportunity for you to reflect and to chat with your mentors about a specific topic. And then finally, do make sure that you are on WhatsApp, as this will be kind of critical for all of our communications. And so with that, the next steps really for us is if you are matched, your pod leader will reach out to you and your mentor and schedule a one-on-one call in the next week or two. And then finally, do make sure you're part of the WhatsApp group. Here's a handy dandy QR code, so feel free to scan it and you can join through there. Okay, with that then, I'm sure you've all had plenty of a British accent. And so I will turn you to Deepal to ease us into a more gentle American accent.
Thanks, Prem. I was just thinking now they're going to get the boring accent. That was amazing. So at this time, we're going to break out into our pods. As Prem mentioned, you saw all the different pods, and you probably got an email last week welcoming you to your new pod, and whoever your leader was, whether, for example, I'm Deepal and I'm Pod Delight. And so everyone in my pod got an email from me letting them know who they're matched with. And so today we get to all meet each other. So that'll be very exciting and getting to know each other. So what we're going to do is Kanchan's going to bring up all the pods, and whatever pod you are assigned to, you will click on that pod. If you are part of Pod Laugh or Pod Smile, just for today, you will join Pod Laugh. And that's Lavania's group. So again, if you got an email saying you're part of Pod Laugh or Pod Smile, you will join Pod Laugh for today. And our discussion topic for today is, what can you personally do to be an effective mentee? And of course, introduce yourselves, get to know each other and have fun with it. And we'll give you all about 10 to 12 minutes.
Hariom, everyone. Hope you guys had a wonderful time today. I really enjoyed hearing all of the speakers today, as well as hearing everyone's thoughts in our breakout discussion groups. So just with our last few minutes before we end today's session, wanted to take a minute to see if anyone wanted to share any thoughts that they had in their discussion groups. If you do, please raise your hand.
I think in our group, it was interesting because we all shared what it means to be a mentee. Our thoughts kind of all intersected in the idea that in this mentor-mentee relationship, we're both parallel seekers and we have different circumstances and experiences, and we for us as mentees, our mentor is someone that we can rely on to give sound advice. But at the end of the day, we have to also respect that they are seekers on their journey as well. And our most sound relationship is that with the trust triangle. So this is something where we can evolve together and also have someone to bounce ideas off of. Hariom.
I heard there were going to be like in-person meetups during this year. So I was wondering, when those might be, or when are we going to decide when those might be, and if so, like, because I'm not going to be like home for half the year, so if I would want to know if it could be when I'm actually at home. But yeah, just in general, what's the?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Neha, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, Hariom Sudarshan. So we're equally very excited to be able to have those this year. I think the plan is to try something as soon as possible in Chicago, just because a group of us are here in Chicago, and so it's an easier coordination. And as soon as we have a schedule, probably in the next month or 6 weeks, we'll be able to tell you sort of what the plan is in which cities so that you can plan your schedule. So yeah, we're gonna get something together very soon and then broadcast it to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer, and thank you for that question, Sudarshan. Wonderful. So I was just going to close up this great workshop that we had today with a couple of announcements. The first being there is a effort going called Efforts for Equality, where we are trying to raise food donations for your local food shelters. One idea that we are going through as a Sangha is to see if we can raise about 1,000 pounds of food. So you can see some more details in the chat there, and you'll hear more from your pod leaders about that. But maybe talking with your mentors and mentees about how you guys can come up with making some type of food donation to show that type of gratitude and pay it forward. And then lastly, to summarize, bring it back to the point which Prim mentioned earlier, the pod leaders will be sending an email out shortly to the mentors and mentees to set up that initial conversation, and then you can get started. So thank you everyone for your time. I will end with an Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Have a wonderful day.